So we were talking about the min-free K-bytes. Let me go off here for a second. I'm going to wrap up on the summary and then do the performance eval. Again, I am skipping the established metrics and established baseline right now. We didn't have time for metrics, and we don't really have any data for a baseline yet. So I want to talk about those when I get a chance. But performance evaluation lab is what I want to do here in a minute. But let's finish up where we were. We were kind of waiting for that system to get into a swap situation. And I could have done other things to make it bad as well. But I was mentioning a website that I go to for description of sysctl parameters. It's called Linux Insight. And we're talking about min-free K-bytes there. Oh, Davian changed their desktop. Waiting for everything to come up here. There's actually a subdirectory on proc_sys_hierarchy. If I got it right. So I go to www.linuxinsight.com, and you can navigate down into it, but proc_sys_hierarchy.html. Now, most of the documentation is straight out of the developers. Not, for example, I've not gone in and added my own comments. And we were just talking about the VM min-free K-byte, so I'm going to click on that one. We talked a little bit about dirty ratio, dirty background ratio. These are all part of the second week, the advanced sysadmin class. Drop caches we talked about, and the one we were just trying to hit was the min-free K-bytes. There's not a whole lot of information there to compute the page's min value for each low mem zone in the system. There are 2 zones, so you actually get it twice. So let me go back to my system now.
Yeah, you're at about 350 meg free.
Okay. So if I go back and look here, now remember some of the stuff is being recorded. I still have, I was doing it in here. Waiting for my desktop to come back. Again, I may be in a swap situation at this point, and graphic is going to be the most painful part of this. Let me just iconize that and go by command line right now. So I'm going to do a SAR 1space5 and see what's going on here. We were at high system time before. I'll do memory growth of these applications. And by the way, MemHog is using mmap, not malloc. So it looks like well, this is kind of interesting. IO weight now, 43% IO weight. I'm going to do a star-r 1space5. So that's my CPU. I'm in an IO weight situation. No more system time. Notice I have overcommitted my memory. For IRIC background people, this is virtual swap is on. Windows is the same thing. Virtual swap is on. You can reserve more memory with malloc than you can actually allocate. You can overcommit your machine. If I do a cat on /proc/meminfo, again, I am in a memory pressure situation, and the swap IO is one thing. So this is my commit limit. This is the amount of virtual memory I have. That commit limit is physical memory plus physical swap. And then this is what I've actually reserved. So this is the reservation, and this is what's reservable. And I have over-reserved memory. This is why the out-of-memory killer will eventually come in when my swap fills up. So star-r 1space5, was giving me the fact that I had 4 times more memory reserved than I'm actually using. So 99.8% of my memory is free. I'm down into the 334 meg. Let me do a SAR dash capital S. And again, at this point, I'm going to have trouble keeping anything in memory, including my shell. I'm not getting any response here right now. I want to go here and bring up my PCP again locally and see if I can get something out of it. The desktop is locked up as well, so I'm just trying to get... PMCD itself doesn't need a whole lot of memory. I want to change my host.
Oh, you just ran out of swap space.
Okay, good. Let's see if we can catch this. It's not even able to get to Floyd 3 right now. Even look at anything. Let's go back to here. Again, I am completely locked up. If we can get this happening before it resolves itself out. Let me go to another system here. So I'm going to go to Serial Console.
Let's see.
Let me do a dash dash. No cache. I don't want to see anything there before yet. I hit return. I control right bracket S to steal. I'm able to get a prompt back. Let's just see here, SAR. I am running right now. Still have high IO wait time. No real system time. Let's see if I can connect in. Let's do a SAR-S 1-5. Let's see if my PM chart can still get in or not. If I happen to get a window of opportunity there that seems to be gone again as the again, no response there. Now, no response on the system. Let me bring up another one here. Resolve something here. Let's see what's going on here. I am now getting my SAR data, and notice that I do have a swap going on. We'll talk about swap CAD later, but basically 5% of what's out on swap is also in memory. It exists in both places. I'm going to do a grep-I on kill. Oops. Again, it's locking up again. What happened to my, still trying to get in with PM chart so I can see it a little bit better. Yeah, it's still not going to connect in. Still having problems, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to try an EscapeKDB. Looks like it was not a serial console. EscapeKDB, and I've dropped down now into KDB. If I type go, my system will come back. That's non-fatal, non-catastrophic. However, if I am in KDB too long, it is possible to have PCI timeouts that can affect you, and you might even lose your root device such that you can't write a crash file or something. I'm going to hit EscapeKDB again. Now, a useful thing here now is summary. And summary can now show, looks like I've got 300 meg left on swap and 400 meg left in memory. So that is a good indication of a memory shortage situation. I'm going to try a D message. and it's paged. I think I'll quit out of there. There is a set ENV lines. Oops. Yes, that's for the VNC viewer. Lines equals, I'm going to go to larger line count and then try that D message. And I'm not paging too quickly. I don't have tail capability here. That's one thing I don't like. Within KDB, I can't pipe into grep or tail or anything. These are all the messages since boot. Oh, there we are. This is the start of an out-of-memory killer message. This is a good indication of the out-of-memory killer situation. It's going to list all the processes that are target for it. And here it's giving for each CPU some information. This can get very verbose. So I had a 2048 CPU system, and they would submit 4 jobs at the same time. Here we can see memhog actually getting an out-of-memory killer event occurring here. And this is what's locking up our system. This is usually high system time when you're in an out-of-memory killer. And here we actually see a kill occurred and statistics about it. Okay, and I got my prompt back now. So I'm going to do a go again. I'm going to do an EscapeKDB again. And if you notice, yes, I can see all those memhogs. I could find some of these memhogs and actually kill them. So here's a PID here. There's not a kill all. Well, let me do a help on kill. Okay, so kill. And I'll just leave the signal alone, and then a PID. Oops, didn't like that. Looks like it needs a signal. -9, let's just say. Okay, now the process is asleep, so you don't really have a kill. So now type in go. And depending upon the load level and what's going on with the system, that kill may have taken effect by now. Now, during this event, let's see if we can ping it. It should be pingable, but again, the OS is not responding to a ping. The network interface card itself is responding to the ping. Let's see if I can log in. And if we're in a swap situation, the problem here now is that my cache has been squeezed down and it's hard to get memory. Oops, wrong password. And I've got some response there.
I think OM killer must have been successful. You've got lots of free memory now.
Yeah, but I do have some lockups on these other ones here.
That just happened in the last 5 or 10 seconds.
Sure. Let's bring up top. Again, I'm kind of too wide here. If I'm on a serial console, you can't get it too wide. So most of the swap got freed up during that event. And we would have caught all this with PCP as well if I had had it running. Let's see if I can connect now. And PMCD itself might have been one that actually looks like it connected okay. PMCD might have been killed as well. Let's just go with this one here. If you have that running in the background and you get in a load situation, you might be able to get data out of just PCP. Okay. I'm going to quit out of here. Oops. So I'm done with that event right now. CPU looks healthy. No, commits are all gone. All my memory consumption is gone. We're going to come back into this later in the week, and we spend 2 days on this in the Advanced Sysadmin class. Star-DP, one space bar. Got a line wrap that's annoying. Try it again. So everything looks quiet. IPCS-AM, I wanted to check that. There's nothing there. ls-l/dev/shamem, and nothing big there. And if I grep the mem in its proc mem info, nothing there. So CPU looks healthy, memory looks healthy, disks look healthy, nothing going on there. Shamem looks healthy. I didn't really look at dirty and write back. Let's just check that. So my buffers are real small at 23 meg. My dirty is 0 pretty much. Write back is 0. Shamem is less than a meg. And my slab is 99 meg, almost 100 meg. And note, a lot of that slab, it cannot be reclaimed in a trim or BC-free situation. So anyways, we're done with that portion. If I do my rep-I on kill and var log messages, oops, I don't have permission. We'll come back to a situation, out-of-memory killer situation later. Windows does the same thing. Remember once I was trying to generate HTML and GIFs from a PowerPoint presentation, and half the presentation would be gone because the Windows out-of-memory killer was killing things. So here now we can see what got killed. Some of them must have finished successfully. By the way, I am running CSA data, CSA-com-n for name, memhog, and I can see all those memhogs that I ran and how much CPU and memory and I/O they did. The elapsed time, so 12:25, 12:32 time they started. Took about an hour for that storm to work itself out. They all started at 12:26. I'm just curious here. I'm going to do a -W for wait times. I'll make it wider here. So here I've got CPU wait, disk wait, and swap wait. And these things, we're doing some swapping, but I have a PV such that swap in is really swap I/O, swap in I/O, and I don't see any of them having a swap in delay. Okay. But I do see swap I/O. I see the time here for the I/O that was going on that we saw, and that's in seconds. I want to try something else here. Dash big M, little m. Let's see what that gives me. So that's my average sizes here. I wanted high water memory marks. Again, I was trying to get up to 20 gig right there. And then it was showing me the high water memory mark it got to in physical memory, RSF size, number of page faults, both minor and major. And again, major page faults were saying from disk. Also a K option in here. And that's just giving me my memory, integral memory used by CPU time. I'll try -F. That'll give me status. And I'm not seeing any, I don't think the status field is working right now. I've got a long time PV on that one. By the way, while I'm doing this, I'm going to start off, since I've got CSA working, I'm going to do a JA. And remember yesterday the problem was that I was getting a, let me grep EOP in var log messages. I was getting that stuff. meaning that there was no job table entry for a job ID, meaning that CSA and job D were out of sync. And that's why I had to do a reboot. So now that I do a JA, I've actually started a job accounting record just for my login session. Let me do a memhog 10 gig. I can do a JA-C and look at just what I've been running. There's my memhog. Let me try it with a -E for extended. No. Other. Let's try other. No. So with the -O, here's my CPU wait, block delay, block IO delay. So that memhog was mostly waiting for a CPU, and then swap IO wait. And here were the high water marks. And I asked for 10 gig and got it fairly quickly. Took 8 seconds for it to do that. And these, unfortunately, are not in seconds, but there is the ability to have it in seconds. I'm going to do JA-SE for extended summary. And now I can look at what's been going on here. So from the time I started JA, I got 53 seconds of elapsed time, 4.6 of user, and 3.5 for system. Maximum memory used was that 10 gig that I asked for. Number of characters read and written, number of IO operations, number of read or write system calls. And again, here again is my CPU wait and my block wait. And again, I have a PV on swap wait, which is a Linux issue. And we didn't configure CSA of system billing units or anything. So let's move on. So the next thing is, in the performance evaluation lab, I want to get MPI running. I want to get PBS configured. And then I want to use the CSA data to actually get some data going here. So right now we're trying to get our workload fired up through a batch interface. PBS Pro is what I'm currently using. So page 6.1. Starting off, RPM-QA and grep for array. Now there are 2 array packages. There's array services and there's S-array services. The S-array services is using a SSL, SSH encrypted socket between the daemons so that nobody can snoop on the array daemon sockets that are being used within a cluster. And I've got just array services configured here right now. Step 3, array services is on the MPI CD or DVD. Also needed here, and a couple of sites been burned on this, I need proc-set as well. This replaced PAG, the process aggregation group stuff that we used to have. So that's installed as well. And check config, grep for proc, shows that it's on, ps-e, and grep for proc, and it is up and running. Also then RPM-QA, grep for MPT, and I do have the SGI MPT. Again, I'm running a pre-release that's a November release to test it here. So that is loaded. And since Performance Suite, when ProPack went away, MPT became a separate ISO and a separate distribution that would be priced and unbundled. Check config array. It is on. So I'm not going to reconfigure it right now. Now later in the week, I'm going to do MPT between threads. Or I'm sorry, between partitions. So array daemon, ps-e, grep for array, and array D. I'm checking for the port number that it is talking on. I know it's in the configuration file as well, but I'm just checking the man page here. want me doing more on ITC array.conf. Now this one's already been configured for multiple hosts that I did last week, but here port 5434 is the port number that Array daemon is using. Now Array services is similar to the MPitch, MBAPitch, MPD daemon. And by the way, that MPD daemon for Intel is going away, and Intel is starting a new launcher called Hydra, which will scale better at the high end. And in the 4.1 release of Intel MPI, the MPD daemon is gone, and everything will be Hydra only. So Hydra is kind of the Intel answer to Array D. Okay, there is an AS check command to check that Array services is working. Again, I have an issue because some of my other Floyds may not be responding. No response from Floyd 4, for example. When I built this, I was on four partitions, but now I'm on 3 partitions. So I'm going to do something here. I'm going to do an array config and rebuild the array configuration file that we were just looking at. -M to make the new file. -A to name this array. I'm just going to call it Floyd. And then I'm going to do a -big A, simple for what the authentication. So there will be RSA keys in the authentication file for array d.auth. Also a capital D to copy this to all the nodes. And then I'm going to do Floyd 1, Floyd 2, Floyd 3. So this is going to overwrite the one that I had when it was a 4-partition system. And I don't have SSH configured, so I have to put in my passwords for each one. Now it's going on to the next one. And I kind of wish that we would include like PDSH and have it all configured by default if we wanted. By the way, that's stuck in an alias of ls in my .bashrc and it's complaining. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem for me. So now I need to restart my services. SSH, well, root is good enough. Floyd 1, and then service array restart. Before I do that, AS check. No errors were found in the configuration file, but that doesn't mean I'm clean here yet. So I'm going to do a service where it was SSH Floyd 1, service array restart. But whenever you change the configuration file, you've got to make sure they're all synced up. AS check. Looks like they're all okay. I'm going to go to Floyd 3. That's where that one unalias problem was. I'm going to go into ITC array and look at the comp file there. And it does have all 3 machines in it, so it was correctly updated. Also, when I look at the AUTH file, which is for authentication, that will have RSA keys in it. Okay, so page 6.2. I want to run an MPI application because one of these codes is MPI. I just want to make sure it's working. So I'm going to go into sys_a_labs. In this case, just real WL. Oops, I'm not root. Let me get out of here. There we are. Oops. So I have this code 6.c, doing more on code 6.c. So I'm including MPI header. That's going to be hopefully the MPT one. I do an MPI Init. This will spawn off all my threads based upon a -np parameter on the MPI run command. Then I'm going to figure out how many are spawned and which one am I. And if I'm 0, if I'm the master thread, I'm going to print out a header. And then I'm going to loop through message sizes and basically do an MPI send and then sit there and wait for that other host, or that other rank, I should say, to return back to me. If I'm not rank 0, then I'm going to sit on a receive waiting for the master to send me. So that's my ping pongs right there, send, receive, send. And then when all that is done, when I've broken out of that, if my rank is 0, then I'm going to print out the latency, the bandwidth, and the message size. And then the MPI application has to finish with an MPI finalize. So that's a quick look at it. Now, I'm first of all just going to do a GCC code 6.c. And notice it's complaining no MPI.h. I need to include the header files. MPT is now in /opt SGI. It used to be in bin and user include. So now I have to have a module to include it. So I'm going to do a module load MPT. And now I'm going to try to compile again. And this time it found the header, but when it got to linking in the routines, it did not find the libraries. I did not declare the libraries. So I need to do a -L MPI. Now, some of the other vendors have like a MPI GCC routine or script or something that will automatically include the library and call the compiler for you. So here I had to explicitly specify it. So now I am on, let me do that with a -O code 6. Good enough. So now MPI run -NP2 to go 2 threads wide on code 6. And this is an example of my school bus Ferrari 747 story I was talking about. First field is the size of the message. Second field is the latency in microseconds. The third one is the bandwidth in megaflops. So when my message size is real small, I have very low latency. And as the message size gets bigger and bigger, the latency goes up, but the bandwidth is also going up. So in profiling MPI application, I'd like to know what my message sizes are like, such that if I'm large message sizes, I need to worry about bandwidth on the system. Okay, so that's step 4. There have been problems in the past with loading the SDK when you get OpenMPI or MBAPitch, and there's an MPI selector from the SDK that can break things. And we're using the module command to do that. And we're going to talk about the module command more tomorrow. So step 2, I loaded MPT. Step 3, I compiled it. Step 4, I ran it. I'm going to do one more here. And this time, instead of 2, I'm going to go 64. That's the number of CPUs on the system. And now I can see my bandwidth about the same. Would be nice to have, let's see, do we have PM chart showing? And here I can see the CPUs actually going busy. Now we're going to get into the statistics on an MPI application tomorrow, probably more into Thursday. So CPUs are 100% busy. We've got for runnable. Runnable was 64 as well. Just about finished with it. I also need to point out that our MPT ships with a test suite. It used to be known as the Palace MPI benchmark. Intel bought it and was the Intel MPI benchmark, IMB. We have rebuilt it and integrated it, and it is called the MPI Tests RPM-QL MPI Tests _MPT. So those things are built against MPT. So I'm going to just try one here, MPI Run-NP2, and then just pick one of these things. So these are other baseline references for you. And there we can see the size and the latency for that particular test. Okay, let's try one with bandwidth. Okay, so those tests are also handy for MPT and testing. Any questions right now?
No.
Okay, so now that I got MPT working, the next step was to be able to get PBS running. So I have a PBS 11 directory. Let's see if I've got it here. No, if I don't see it, I'm just double checking here. PBS _miscellaneous, let's check that one. Not in there, that's okay. Need to be root here, oops. I'm going to go to DMZ server. I'm going to go into /archive. And there is a tarball there for /11 and PBS Pro 11.1. Oops. What the heck? Oh, there it is. Looks like I picked up the Red Hat one too. I'm going to put this, let's see, where's the workbook putting it? Looks like SW, so I'm going to make their, I'll talk about /SW and /op tomorrow when we talk about the module commands. So I'm going to move that thing into /SW. Let me do a make dir of PBS. Let me move it. Let me unzip it. Tar it. And then there's an install script there. Now, before I actually start the install script, so I just went through steps 2 and 3 and untarred it. PBS has now got its own user account. So I've got to do a user add and -m to make. But before I do that, I want to do a -d /user/people and then name it PBS data. Here's the thing. By default, that PBS home directory is going to be on a NFS/home directory. If I have NFS problems, I won't be able to get the system booted. So during the boot process, PBS might try to run, but it can't get to home because networking isn't configured or networking problem, and its home is NFS mounted. Then you have to go to rescue mode, check config PBS off, and then reboot and then fix your networking problem. So I like to put the PBS home directory in a non-NFS directory. I just happen to pick an IRIX type of thing called user people. You okay with that issue?
Yeah.
So I've had problems. I've complained to the PBS people that maybe var run might be a better default place than home for the directory. I picked user people just because, but var run will always be local. And then when I'm booting the system, PBS will always have a local home directory, and I can successfully get through my boot process and my init.d scripts. So that was step 4. I'm now step 5. I am in the PBS Pro directory where that install script was, and I've already created a user account PBS data. I also want to get a license. So let me SFTP. Oops. Let me try it again. SFTP guest at DMZ-server. CD/archive. Now, if you're ever dealing with this, Chippewa Falls has a website for the latest factory trial. In fact, I really don't know that I need it here if I have a license. Let's just see pbs.act. There we are, pbs.mget, pbs.lic. Do more on pbs.lic, and oops, I want to fix that. This is the URL where the current factory trial would be. I'm just going to get rid of that, worry about it later. See if it is current or not, I don't know yet. So I have a license there as well, and I'm going to run the install script. And it does now use a MySQL or Ingress type of database, not MySQL, but Postgres. Execution directory. Let me put it into /sw PBS 11.1. I'm just making it short. Home directory. Now this is not the same as the other home directory. Oops, it didn't like it. It did make it for me. But this is a different home directory. The other home directory is really for the database account. So I'm going to leave that in var spool. I want all 3 to be installed here. Not going to worry about the license manager until later. It will not take the factory trial license as a location here. Okay, so it's installing PBS for the server. There are still some run level problems with the job. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'd like to start PBS. So let's see. And it's basically setting up the varspool PBS directory and the SW PBS directory. Notice it installed all the executables here. Finishing up here. So it looks like it's complete, but it does say license keys are invalid. I'm going to do a service PBS start. Let's try a stop. And a start. And it's complaining about the license key. That was intended. I wanted to do that. Before I go on, let me go into SW, PBS, default. So the way I installed it, actually put it in 11.1 default. So the subdirectory is a little bit deeper than I expected because the way I answered the questions. Go into ITSE. We have a module file in place and also the set license thing. So I'm going to copy module file into slash, well, first of all, let me make a directory, maker /sw/ module files. In the workbook, they're putting it into SW module files PBS. Oops, typo. So copy module file into SW module file PBS. I still need to edit that thing to get it a proper path. And I need to get it into this path here. So I'm just going to get rid of this stuff. I'm just going to hard code this. We'll get into this tomorrow. And the workbook isn't perfectly clear on some of the stuff yet. Another thing I need to do that's not in the workbook yet, user share module init. There is a file there, .modules path. And I want to add in, I want to get rid of this directory, and then I want to add in the /sw/ module files directory. I'm going to log out, and I need to go all the way. Let me log back in. Okay, so now if I do a module list, nothing is currently loaded. Module avail now shows that I do have a PBS thing there. Let me do a qstat command, not found. Module load PBS, qstat, and it is found, though nothing's running yet. So step 11, I fixed the module file. So now I need to get, let's see, ps-e grep for PBS. PBS is up and running. Let me do get to root here. And I'm going to do a queue manager, not found. I need to go to SW PBS 11.1 default bin /queue manager, and now I'm there. So step 12, this is for factory trial. I'm going to do a unset server, and then I got to unset the location of the file. That's what I see, license _ file _ location. And then I'm also going to unset server PBS _ license _ info. And then let me quit out of there. So now let me, the other thing that is happening in the workbook right now is I am going to put in the CPU set aware PBS mom. Before I do that, I'm going to do an ls on dev CPU set, and note that there are no subdirectories there yet. I'm going to go up a directory. Now, some people will do a link. So notice I've got a PBS _ I need SBIN. So I got a PBS mom standard, and I got a PBS mom CPU set. And we can see from the checksums that the current PBS mom is standard and not CPU set aware. Okay, so I'm going to copy CPU PBS underscore mom dot CPU set into PBS underscore mom. Oops, busy. So I go to a service PBS stop. Oops. Now I can do the copy. And now I'm going to do a start. So I did the copy. Now I'm going to start it again. And the license was taken care of as well. Oops, I haven't taken care of the license yet. What happened here is there should be a step to run the set license command. Missing a step here. Okay. Step missing here. I need to run that PBS set license thing. And let me cat / SW PBS 11.1 default. Where was it? Lost where I put the license. Okay, let me get it again. Let me cat that thing. Here's the license key. What I need to do is run this /PBS underscore set license. And it's going to say enter the string. So now I paste in that string. Now Control D. And I should now have a trial license in place. Normally you're going to be running a Flex LM, but for convenience here, I'm just using a factory trial license. And by the way, notice this little message that we see here. And let's try starting it now. And we now have a valid start showing the license is valid for so many hosts. Good for 90 days. So now if I do a qstat-a, not in my path, module load PBS, qstat-a, looks like I'm working, ls/dev/CPU set. I do have a PBS Pro CPU set. Now I'm going to go into dev CPU set, PBS Pro, take a look at the CPUs. We'll talk about this Thursday, Friday. So I've got all 64 CPUs on the system, cat mems, and I've got all the memory nodes. Later in the week, I'm going to create a boot CPU set, and then this will be everything that this PBS will take any CPUs that are not in the CPU set on boot. So later in the week, I'm going to create a boot CPU set, a login CPU set, and then a PBS CPU set. We'll talk about CPU sets Thursday, Friday. So I've done step 17, PS-E, let's grep for PBS. I do have a mom, a SCED, and a server running. So qstat-Q will show me what my queue structure is. And it's just one queue called work queue. And if I do a -F on that thing, I can see how it is, the status and stuff. It is enabled, it is started. and statistics on that particular queue. So that's step 19 and 20. Now, this is personal preference. 21 I kind of do not like to do, but it's loading a PBS module automatically. So let me do that, vi/ITSI profile.d modules. I'm just going to do it on the bash one. I don't like to put it here in case the module isn't working, but just for convenience, I'm doing that. I'm going to log out, log back in. Do stat-Q shows that I now have PBS in my default path, echo $path. And notice it is at the top of the list, which might actually be painful if you're always going through that first to find things. Generally, you want your path in a specific order for search orders to find things. Okay, so that was 22, 23, tested by trying Q-sub. So I'm going to do this once. We're almost done here. I'm going to labs. Oops. CD into the perf-eval module. I'm going to get rid of all the prior dot files that I have from prior classes. So I've got some generic job examples here, and then a script to actually run them in batch. So let me just try a Q-sub on code 1 GNU.pbs. We have not installed Intel compilers yet. That'll be tomorrow. Let me try submitting again. Notice that the job ID is advancing 0, 1, 2. Let me do a qstat-a. And I can see 2 of the jobs are running. Let me bring up top, and I can see 2 of them are currently running. Let me do a qstat-s for status. And it looks like all 3 are running. One is just finished and is exiting. So we should have a .o file there. Let me do a more on splat 0 and see if it successfully ran. You can take a look at the job later. This is all the stuff that PBS has running. JA compiled it successfully, ran it. It took about 14 seconds for this one to run. It removed some scratch files. Then I've got my JA report from CSA data, and then I've got my total. Interesting. I've got some bad user ID or group ID. Not going to worry about that right now. Again, user and group are coming from NIS. So it's not finding it through NIS for whatever reason. Let's see what we got here. So we got all 3 working. So I'm going to do, for me, I'm going to clear up all my prior CSA data. Now, let me just see, check mail. Looks okay. Not going to worry about that SA2 problem. That was from last week, right after boot, or right after install. Now, when I ran CSA run, it's going to go into var sum, var CSA sum, and there's the report that I just got. I'm going to do a more on the 9/11, this one right here. This is my CSA accounting report showing me we don't really care about total CPU time consumed. And here are my top commands, memhog, code 6, and anything that ran only once is counted other. Right now, memhog was my top consumer, both in CPU time and in memory consumption. Okay. Let me exit out of there. So now I'm going to try a /go.pbs. And what I'm trying to do here is get my baseline. Before I do that, CSA com-n code. There's nothing in the accounting file anymore because it got put into the summary report. So now let me try a go.pbs. And I now am running each of these codes, 1 through 9, using the GNU compiler and getting some accounting statistics. So the workbook submitted code 2. I just submitted code 1, but now I can see code 1, 2, code 203 GNU running, code 5, code 7. All these codes are running at this point. Step 30, when the job is done, return standard out and standard error. We did look at that already. And basically, PBS is done. We're now ready for production work. You okay?
Yep.
So, depending upon what your system is, on 643, I'm submitting through PBS. And PBS has also got accounting file. What we're trying to move into now is quality of service metrics. So I spent a little time with PCP and STAR and TOP going through health of the system metrics, but now I need to get to time domain. So now that I'm running these programs, I got a time command, I got CSA data, and I got PBS data. So page 643, I'm sorry, 64, there's a typo on the bottom of the page. I've now got everything running. So I did steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've done step 6, and I'm going to wait for them to finish. Step 9, check the output when they're done, and then step 11 is going to use CSA Com. Now, if you're not using CSA Com, then you've got to use the time command. So the top of page 6.5 is a table. And this is what I'm going to do tomorrow morning first thing is to figure out the CPU, the memory, what do I got here, the elapsed time of each process, and characterize them, real-time or elapsed time, user time, system time, what was the high water memory marks, how many bytes were read and how many bytes were written. And then from that, I'm going to start looking at baseline data giving me, you know, the compiler that I used and things of that sort. The bottom of page 6.5 then is if I'm doing it interactive, if I don't have PBS or if I don't have CSA. So I can run those scripts interactively. And that was page 6.6. On 6.7 then,
You still there?
6.8, PBS accounting. There is a PBS dashboard. So let me go into SW, PBS 11.1, default, and I think it was the ITSE directory. There is a, nope, not in there, bin directory, PBS-report, not in there. There it is in the SBin directory. Now if I do a PBS-report, this will tell me about all the jobs. Oh, it must be root. And so now I can see so far I've got 9 jobs. They were all run by guest. Now I wanted you to do your work as TNG01. I'm sorry, TNG02 for you.
Right.
And then I can see statistics about it. If I add a -V option, then I can actually get a per job report. So now for each job, I get the user, the queue it was in, the name of the job, when it started, where it ran, number of nodes in a cluster, what the memory size was, what the CPU time was. Okay?
Right.
And I'm also going to do a CSA com-n on code right now. And now I can start to see code 5, there's code 1, 2, 3, code 4, code 5, code 6, code 7, code 8. Only code 9 is not finished yet. Now there was an option in there. We're almost finished here. Appreciate your patience. Well, let's see. Back on page 6.4, if I'm using CSA and it's available, I'm going to use an I for I/O, T to separate my system timeout, little m, big M, and that will give me the workload characteristics. So using that then, and I got to make sure they ran successfully, I can then see my elapsed time, my user time, my system time. Notice this code 1 had high system time. I can see my characters read, characters written, high water memory marks. And from that you can fill in that table. Now, if I were actually doing this, I would want this to be run more than once. Or was I here? Was it? Four. I did flip the modules around and they may not match what you had before. So I'm just going to do this a couple of times, stack it up and keep it busy. And then I normally like to have 3 or 4 runs to be able to get a runtime variance, how much difference there is between things. Bring up top. So I can see some code 9's running. By the way, code 9 will just spin until it hits a limit. It doesn't have a given number of iterations. It will just keep going until it hits a limit. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
So from this then, I'm going to fill out that chart and figure out and review tomorrow what each of these 9 codes are. And the point being workload characterization to figure out how much CPU, how much memory, how much I/O do these programs. Any questions?
Not right this second. All right.
It was a long day again. I appreciate your patience stopping the recorder.